Hi everybody and welcome back to another Flex episode. Now today we will be flexing our mind and not our muscles, but of course those two are related because we want to live a holistic life. We'll be talking to Emily Kandanga, a wellness coach, and if you're not aware of her, well, now you get to meet her and to finally understand what she's about. And we'll be talking about spirituality, making more money. I think that would be an important and interesting topic to listen to. So stay tuned as we speak to Emily and be ready to change your mindset with us.
Hello and welcome to today's Sports Rep Show.
I am your host, Jesse Jackson Kauraifa. In replay, Namibia, who had won the toss for the first time on this tour.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, starting off with tennis news, both on the WTA for women's and
So welcome everyone. We are talking to Emily Kandanga and she'll be telling us more about her podcast, Empowered by Em. So Ems, are you going to empower us?
Oh
today?
yeah.
But it's awesome seeing you again. Welcome
You
back
too.
to studio.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's always a pleasure and we can learn so much from you and everything that you've been doing. So can you just tell us more about the time that you decided that, okay, I'm going to take on podcasting to further expand your business?
Sure. So it kind of came to me very randomly because I have been doing my personal development, working on myself, and I was finding myself wanting to share a bit more about what I was learning and how I was moving through certain things because if there's one thing I know, it's that we're never alone in some of the things that we're going through. There's always somebody who can relate, somebody who can learn from you. And I have been learning so much from listening to podcasts myself. So I was like, well, I think I might want my own podcast.
Yeah.
and once I said that, like, it's almost like the universe heard me. And all of a sudden, my fiance came home with this brand new laptop. And it was like the perfect piece of equipment for me to start podcasting. And then when he heard me say, oh no, babe, I really want to start a podcast, he then bought some equipment, which he told me he wanted it for his own podcast, for his own business. But I was like, you know what? I'm taking this as mine. Thank you, universe. And I use the equipment way more than he does. So it was very serendipitous how it came together. First, I was recording from my phone with like the mic attached, and then it grew. And I now have a nice setup. The sound is epic. I'm slowly starting to think about editing the podcast because I always said I didn't want to edit myself because I felt like growing up, that's all I did was edit myself, how I would speak, how I would show up, how I would dress. So I was like, this is a space where whatever comes out, it's just what you're going to get, my friends.
Absolutely. That's so cool. And just for those who don't know, Emily, you're a wellness coach and you do a lot within the fitness industry, especially in Namibia. I think you're probably one of our biggest fitness influencers.
I love it. I've been very intentional about fitness in my life, and the reward has been quite epic. Something I didn't ever expect, and also how it's grown into like this different wellness coaching, which I never pictured myself doing. When I initially set out to just be a personal trainer, I was like, I'm just gonna personal train, and then I started working with my clients, and I was like, there's something missing. We're all missing an emotional, spiritual, like mental support element in this. We can't just come to me and we work on your body, but then you're leaving with your problems and feeling like I can't really do anything about them.
Yes.
So it was really through working with my clients and being on this journey for myself that I was like, okay, I'm gonna do the things.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, those things have grown, and it's beautiful to see how you're growing as well.
Thank you so much.
Especially on social media, because you share a lot there, your wellness journey and everything. And can you tell us a bit more about the topics that you talk about in your podcast?
So we touch a bit of everything. In the intro, you'll hear me say that it's a spirituality, fitness, nutrition, like all the things. Because I feel like we can't talk about you and your health if we don't talk about all of the things that sort of make up your health. So that's like your relationships, like how is that going? Do you have boundaries in place that are supporting how you want to be treated in your relationship, or are you just like people pleasing to like the fifth degree? You know, your money do you have a good relationship with your finances? Is that area of your life feeling like it supports you and it gives you stability, or is it like shaky, right? Your fitness, your health, right? How is that looking? Because otherwise you can't really show up and support all of the other areas of your life if you're not okay physically and mentally and emotionally. So yeah, it's a bit of everything that we cover in the podcast, and the topics, now I'm letting them come to me. I've actually taken a pause on the podcast for like, it's almost been a month. That has felt really, really good. It came to me very intuitively. It was like, take a break after my birthday, actually. I was like, I think I'm done here for a while. So I love that I can do that. I give myself the space to do that without judging myself, because before I was like, no, you have to, weekly episodes, you got to do the thing. But I'm like, no, there's clearly something else that's trying to be birthed here. So I need to create the space for that. And yeah, I'm having new ideas come through and different ways that I want to engage my audience and guests and stuff. So yeah.
Ranging from current affairs, community stories, local index remains unchanged while overall index.
Thank you for joining the show that highlights the news making headlines in the land of the brave and beyond.
Always major victorious.
So are we looking at a YouTube
Hey!
channel in the future?
My friends, maybe the studio can sponsor me some visuals.
You know?
Putting it out there.
Yeah, but that would be so cool to see.
It would be cool to have a vodcast. But for now, because I do everything by myself, it is strictly a podcast.
Yeah, no, I can see how that works. And you can be found on Spotify, Apple Music.
Yes, Spotify and Apple Podcasts are the two main platforms, and I think you can stream it through all of the other platforms too, through the RSS feed, but those are the main ones that I channel everyone to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how's your viewership growing?
It's picking up. And I think after my little break, and my audience has grown a lot too through this period where I've been on a break, and I've just sort of been directing people to other previous episodes that I've recorded, because it's not everybody who listens to it every week that I drop an episode. So I'm just redirecting people there, and I'm seeing that it's growing, and people are coming to me and finding me through my podcast, which I'm like, oh my God, I haven't even put out an episode in weeks. And they're like, hey, I found your podcast. So it's really nice. So it's picking up slowly, and I've never been too focused about the numbers, because for me it was about, I got something to say and I want to say it. And so that's really what I've been focused on, and I believe everything else will sort of unfold.
Yeah, I like the holistic approach that you take with your life, I guess, and trying to teach that to others as well. And I think that we really neglect the spiritual side of our wellness journey in general. Can you just touch on the importance of, you know, spirituality being there in your life and showing up for yourself in that regard?
I think it's very, very important, because, and also an important journey for people to kind of go through and figure out for themselves, because maybe growing up it was religion that was a prominent thing in your household, and spirituality wasn't really spoken about, and like the two kind of dancing and playing off each other wasn't something that was explored or that you felt safe to explore. And so for me, I know that's where I was coming from. And I almost had this resistance towards religion. And I was just like, And as I continue to do my work and seeing my mom and how she is in church, really, that was a pivotal moment for me when I went with her to church. She was like, I went to visit her. She's like, we're going to church. Make sure you pack a dress. And I was like, oh God. And I packed the dress and I went, and I was like, you know what, I'm operating my life from a different mindset. Let me go into this different. And I sat there and I just watched her and how calm she was, and how happy she was singing, she was like so active and so safe in the space. And that's when I really realized that, okay, this is all that she's been trying to do, is like teach me and give me this thing that has given her this safety and peace in her life. And when I saw it from that point of view, I was like, oh, it's like, whoa. I really, really respect it so much more. And it's more about just allowing people the freedom to explore what feels right for them. And then, so through seeing that, I really released a lot of my own expectations on how my journey should look like and what spirituality should look like for me. And I've just made it what feels good for me. And also, there was a lot of weirdness for me growing up around spirituality. Even going to church, there was resistance and feeling like I needed to go to a specific place, and then feeling like I still want to just be where I am and be connected to God and source, and not having to like go to a physical establishment. There were a lot of parts of me that didn't agree with a lot of the things, the offerings. Some churches you went to, they made it seem like this was why you came. And it felt so disjointed. So I really had to like weed through all of it and make it my own. And now I love it. I'm like, yes.
Hello and welcome to today's Sports Rep Show.
I am your host, Jesse Jackson Kauraita. In replay, Namibia, who had won the toss for the first time on this tour.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, starting off with tennis news, both on the WTA for women's and
Okay, and how does that ritual looks like when you're connecting to God and the universe?
So I believe it's something that we do every day in every way. Even right now, as I'm sitting here, I always like to go into interviews. That's why I don't really like to see questions before I go into interviews, because I want to be an open channel and just really have what needs to come through. So it's an everyday, just keeping that connection open and strong and intentional. So I meditate often. I'm not gonna say every day. I'm human. So there was a point in time in my life where I was lying to myself and trying to meditate every day, and then I realized it was just not the way to go. So now it's like become this practice that I do when my spirit and my soul is like, yes, girl, sit on that mat and meditate. So meditating, just creating moments of silence and stillness throughout the day also is a great way for you to sort of hear other things that you might not be hearing, because there's so much noise and people's opinions and your own noise. So getting quiet, I love doing that, going out in nature, exercising, really anything that I'm doing with intention. I feel like I am,
Connecting to a higher power.
I'm connecting to a higher power. Even through here, sitting with you, because we are all also God in some form in our own expression of Him. So, yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
And any last words on spirituality and starting that journey?
I love this. I would say just the number one thing is to get quiet, because we just don't do that enough. Like, when was the last time you just sat with like no Netflix, no music, no phone, like just you?
And I think that's quite difficult to just do that. Like, your mind is always busy, and with the age of social media, it's like you have to do two things at once while you are maybe washing the dishes, which can be a perfect time to be quiet. Then you're on your phone and watching something on YouTube. So
Just I do that all the time too. Just sometimes washing dishes is like a thing that I need to trick myself into doing. So I'll listen to a podcast or I'll watch a show too on Netflix. But really being intentional about then creating that time, carving it out, because it's there. The time is there.
The time is
It's
there.
just like, what are you using it? What are you filling that space with? And when you get quiet, the more and more you do it, the more, first it'll feel kind of scary if you've never done it before. It'll feel so unsafe and you'll be like, no, thank you. I'll put on some music or something. But the more and more you do it, the more and more your body and your mind and your spirit will begin to feel safe going there, and it will become your new comfort. And now I sit in stillness all the time and it's my favorite thing to do, and it comes so easy.
Yeah.
And I always reflect back to a time where it felt so forced to like now when it's like, this feels like, yes, I need to do this. I want to do this.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, there you have it from Emily. We're not done with her yet. I think when we come back with the next part of this interview, we'll talk a bit more about money, and she can give us advice here on how to attract it more.
Yes.
So let's head over for a short break.
Ranging from current affairs, community stories, local index remains unchanged while overall index.
Thank you for joining the show that highlights the news-making headlines in the land of the brave and beyond.
Always major victorious.
So we're back here with Emily, and we're just going to discuss more about how money matters in your life and how you view it. Can you perhaps just, start off that conversation and just speak in general about it?
Money. Wasn't always such a fun thing for me to, get excited about, to talk about. It was a very uncomfortable topic because there was a lot of anger and resentment and shame and stuff from maybe not growing up the way that I felt like I wanted to grow up with money, and not feeling like, oh my gosh, my parents didn't set me up for all this success. And I mean, we harbor these things. A lot of them are unconscious, but once I started to do the work, I realized, I actually hold a lot of anger and resentment towards the way my parents sort of handled money with us and how they handled money in their own lives. And that's a lot of stuff that you need to release so that you can recreate that relationship for yourself in your life and really begin to understand that money is a very neutral resource. People tend to think that money makes people evil, money the root of all evil. Like, how many times have we seen that being pushed in our faces? And it's just not true. Money is not the root of all evil. Maybe that was coined by somebody who didn't want the world to get so as rich as he was, because that type of belief will keep people from desiring money, wanting to step into wealth, because it's like, I don't want to be evil, so I don't want no money. So you block it, and you do so very unconsciously. And so also realizing that money is this sort of like another relationship that you have in your life that you get to nurture. You get to be intentional about how much time you spend with your money, where you send it to, where it comes from, how grateful you are when you receive it, when you give it out, when you spend it. Like, is that with an open heart, or are you like,
I don't want to...
Are you like dying on the inside and you don't want to give the money away? Because that really affects everything, how it's going to come back to you, because everything is, it comes back, right? That karmic cycle of how you give is how you're going to receive something in the end. So just really being intentional about developing a relationship with money the way that you want it to look like. So if you want money to feel fun and not so strict and feel so like, oh my goodness, this black and white thing, you get to do that. You get to make that relationship that way for yourself. So it doesn't have to look like what the financial planner tells you that it needs to look like. You kind of get to you get to figure it out for yourself and do what works for you. Obviously keeping in line what the financial planner tells you, because it's important.
It is important, yeah. Okay, that's very cool. That I like that you brought that up, that we grew up with that, and even the way our parents raised us, and people do harbor that negative feelings toward their parents if they're not in this successful bubble, I guess. And can you just touch on the importance of moving away from that mindset. You did a bit, and just how you can actually do it.
So awareness is number one. It's very important to move away from that mindset because it's going to keep you stuck in that same place. You're never going to be able to create more wealth, what you actually desire. You'll always just be hitting a ceiling. And you're like, why can't I make more? Why can't I experience more? I want more, but it's not happening. So that mindset will kind of keep you in this safety bubble that is really fake. It's a fake safety.
Yeah.
And doing this work will allow you to open that up, reframe that relationship, and you can begin to do so by, yes, having the awareness. So where is your relationship with money right now? Do you feel some type of way every time money leaves your bank account? Do you avoid opening up the banking app, you're checking your statements, like seeing where your money is going, what's being deducted, what is coming in? Like, is that something you do? Do you even have a relationship with your money in that way?
Yeah.
Or do you just like avoid it and just like, Lord, I hope everything is okay. So just really getting aware and being intentional about that awareness and using the information, because numbers are data and they give us so much information. Like if you take a look at your statement and you see where all your debits are going and they are going to takeouts, that's something that you might want to revisit and see, is this really productive, or can I do something better here, because it's a bit of a leakage. So using that in a more empowering light is really like the mindset shift that we all need to take, and not run away and be like, oh my God, I don't want to see. Even if the situation is not great, like look at it. And then that's when you can do something about it, not when you just ignore it.
Yes, absolutely. And I think one thing that a lot of people think about is how do you make more money and what you should do. Is that a thing you talk about? Or
It
not
is,
really?
and it's something I think about too, because I'm like, man, you know, I was speaking to, I have encountered a lot of beautiful people with medicine in their lives. So one of them that I was speaking to is very intuitive. And she was telling me like, Emily, do you know that you are destined to be very wealthy? And I was like, you know what? I had a feeling. I was like, I've been having a feeling. And one of the things that wait, I lost my train of thought. What was your initial question?
The question was, how do you make more money?
Yes.
Yes.
So one of the things that you want to make sure that you're doing is operating from your power, your purpose. What is that thing? You may, yes, have a corporate job, but outside of that, there's something in your heart. There's something that you think about, that you go to sleep trying to think, dream about, how would this look like? How could this be? But you're not following that. And when we follow that, I believe that's where all of the joy, the happiness, the prosperity, the abundance, the money lies, is when we are doing that thing that has been innately put in our hearts by God, universe. Like, this is what you are meant to come here and express. And when we're not following that, we might struggle to create that abundance and that money effortlessly, because it might come with a lot of effort if you're kind of going against what your ultimate purpose is in this world. So I would say figure that out and then do that. And like all the way, go all in.
There you guys have it from Emily. I hope that inspired everyone a bit to just find that innate purpose and to listen to that voice, I guess.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Emily.
Thank you.
Now, today's episode was not short of life lessons. So if you learned something today, then of course you took away a lot, and there was a lot to take away. So let's meditate on what we've learned. I will definitely try and do so, and think about money differently, because that would be very important going forward, of course. Now that brings us to the end of today's episode, and I hope to see you all next time again. And as usual, flex your muscles and your mind.